Jacob. Hi, girls. I am so excited and so pumped to be here tonight with you all. I know that there could be a lot of places you could be tonight. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing, and I am so proud of you for choosing to be here. So way to go. So the topic tonight that we're going to be talking about is boys and dating. Who here is interested in boys and or dating? Right? This is going to be a good topic tonight, guys. Really good. So to first just quickly introduce myself, my name is Sarah Kurtenbach. I love me some Jesus. I'm actually a business owner. I own a marketing consulting company, and I also have an online ministry for women called Move Her. So to check out the videos and content for Move Her, just follow me on Instagram. I put it all there. It's made specifically for girls and for women to encourage you, challenge you, inspire you. I have been married for over 5 years to my husband, Chad. We have a 2-year-old baby boy named Pierce. I'm 5.5 months pregnant with baby number 2. And I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. It's going to be a surprise. Any guesses? Girl? You know, our 2-year-old son swears up and down it's a girl. He always says baby girl or like, I'm going to get a new baby sister. So we'll see. So tonight, the main idea is, are you living a life of pleasure or are you living a life of purity? Let me tell you a story about when I was in college. So when I was a freshman in college, I became completely infatuated with this boy. And to be totally honest, the main reason why is because he was the star football player, and I thought that was really hot. So I really liked him. We started dating. The beginning was fun. He made me feel loved, special, important. But what started out as really fun eventually turned into something really bad. Because he was a partier, he would become completely irrational, he would become very controlling. I ended up dating him for about 2 years. To be honest, 2 years too long. I should have never dated him in the first place. This is why we're here tonight, to talk about how to protect yourself from situations like this in the future. And then I found out after I broke up with him that he had also cheated on me while we were dating. So let me ask, have you girls ever been in a situation like this? Do you have a friend in a situation like this? Maybe you're in a relationship like this now. So what are we going to do to try to protect ourselves from what could be potential disaster? Because again, how can something that starts so good end up so bad? Well, let's look at a story in the Bible of a man named Samson who had a similar journey where something that started out wonderful in his life turned into disaster. So we're going to look at Judges 15, verses 1 through 3. Later on, it was during the wheat harvest, Samson visited his bride, bringing a young goat. He said, "Let me see my wife. Show me her bedroom." But her father would not let him in. He said, "I concluded that by now you hated her with a passion. So I gave her to your best man. But her little sister is even more beautiful. Why not have her instead?" Samson said, "That does it. This time, when I wreak havoc on the Philistines, I'm blameless." Okay, so hold up. Let's just look at this for a minute, okay? Samson's father-in-law gave Samson's bride, Samson's wife, to a different man, even though they were still married. And not just any man, Samson's best man, Samson's best friend. So basically, Samson comes trying to look for his wife, and he finds his wife in her bedroom with his best friend. The Bible can be scandalous, ladies. You know, the Bible can be scandalous. But what can we learn from this, and what does this story mean to us today? Okay? The most important earthly relationship you will ever have in your life is the one with your future husband. The relationship between a wife and a husband is the most important relationship. It is a covenant that God says you are binded together, which is why Samson came looking for his wife. He came looking for his bride. So in 2 Corinthians 2:11, it says that we are the bride of Christ. So God loves us with a passion that is so fierce and so powerful that he sees us as his bride. So think of it this way. Just as Samson came back looking for his bride and found his bride in bed with another man, God is going to come looking for you. And so the question is, who is God going to find you in bed with, fooling around with, or hanging out with that maybe you shouldn't be? So I'm going to talk to you ladies through a couple things that I like to call red flags and deal breakers. And I will tell you girls, when I was your age, I so wish that I knew what these red flags and deal breakers were, because it would have definitely saved me a lot of heartbreak. I would have not dated that football player, basically, if I would have known this. So the goal of walking through these is to help you ladies know, man, either now or in the future, if you are starting to like a guy, but he has one of these red flags or deal breakers, he may not be the guy for you. And you may want to end something before it turns into disaster. So first, let's talk about red flags. So what do I mean by red flags? Red flags basically means if this comes up in a relationship with a guy that you are dating or a guy that you like, man, this is not something minor, girls. This is something pretty major that you need to keep your eye on closely, because it basically means you might want to end the relationship very, very quickly. So red flag number 1, if the guy tries to push you past your physical or sexual boundaries, okay? So first step in this is you need to know, what are your physical boundaries? What's the boundary that you do not want to cross? Now, the Bible doesn't make it uber clear what is a boundary or what is not. That's why it can be kind of confusing, you know? But I read in a book written by an amazing Christian female pastor to look at a physical boundary like this. If you would be uncomfortable with God watching what you are doing with that guy, it probably means it's a physical boundary you shouldn't cross. So think of it that way, okay? Very simply. So that's step number 1. What are your physical boundaries? And I encourage you, if you don't have those set yet, to set them tonight. Step number 2 then is, if you start to like a guy, if you're dating with a guy, you gotta be on the same page on what your physical boundaries are. Because otherwise, he's not gonna read your mind, and you definitely don't wanna talk about it in the heat of the moment. That is not gonna be comfortable for anybody, right? So you gotta be on the same page with the guy you're dating. But the red flag, this is where the red flag comes in. If this is your boundary, and every time the guy gets a chance, he tries to push you a little bit further than what you're comfortable with, and then a little bit further, a guy that does that, girls, that is a massive red flag. The reason why is because it means he does not want to protect your heart. He does not want to protect your body. He does not want to protect your mind. He's out for one and one thing only. Huge, huge red flag. Red flag number 2, is he a believer or is he a true follower of Christ? You see, in the Bible it says even the demons believed, but did the demons follow Christ? Did they love Christ? No, right? So believing is a good step. It's a first step. But if he's not a true follower of Christ, that could be another red flag, because you guys just won't be aligned on a lot of core values that you have. And the third and final red flag, if the guy does not have any solid male friends or male mentors in his life that make him a better man. So when I went on my first real date with my now husband, I kind of grilled him on who his friends were and who his mentors were. The reason why is because I had learned the hard way that who a man hangs out with the most, his closest group of friends, is who he is going to turn into. And you know what? The guys I dated in the past, their friends were partiers. They wanted to go to the bar, they wanted to play video games all day, and they wanted to hit on ladies all the time. I do not want to marry a man like that. I'm sure none of you girls do either. So who are his top friends that he hangs out with? Because he will turn out like them. And also, if he doesn't have any male mentors, basically wise or older men pouring into him, he should get some solid male mentors as well. So those are the red flags. But now let's talk about deal breakers, okay? So what a deal breaker means are these are things where if you see this in a guy you're in a relationship with or a guy that you like, you don't need to walk away from the relationship. You need to run. You need to run away as fast as you can from this relationship. There are 4 core deal breakers. Deal breaker number 1, if there's any sort of cheating or abuse. Because I'll tell you what, girls, if a guy cheats on you while you're dating, guaranteed he will cheat on you while you're engaged, and he will cheat on you while you're married. So you are just going to want to run away from a guy who cheats on you. Plus, you all deserve way better than that. So lift your standards a lot higher. The other thing with abuse, okay? So there's physical and sexual abuse. If the man hurts you or forces you to do things, you got to run. But there's also mental and emotional abuse. Does the man belittle you? Does he speak poorly to you? Does he say things to make you feel like you are the crazy one? You know, if you don't like the person that you are becoming when you're with him, that could be a form of mental or emotional abuse, and you have to run. Deal breaker, absolute deal breaker. Deal breaker number 2, if the guy's not a Christian. Because this is the thing, if you ladies want your Christian faith to be a core value to you, and I pray that you do, because it is the most important thing here on this earth, you have to be with a guy that believes the same thing. You know, there's a term called missionary dating, and basically it's a concept where you date a guy hoping that your faith and your love for Jesus will like rub off on him and then you'll bring him to Christ. So if you want to do that as a friend, please do it. That's awesome. But don't do it if your heart's on the line. And if you really like the guy, and if you're hoping that by you bringing him into a dating relationship, it'll bring him to Christ, because it really usually does not work out that way. So deal breaker number 2. Third deal breaker, uncontrolled anger. Because basically what this means is the man has a massive lack of self-control. And if he has a massive lack of self-control and has uncontrollable anger, this usually will lead to some type of abuse or cheating in the future as well too. So uncontrollable anger, you gotta run, deal breaker. And then the final deal breaker, a man who is too controlling. So this is the kind of guy where he always wants to have control and know, who are you hanging out with? Who are you spending time with? Who are you talking to? Who are you texting to? Show me your phone. Show me your DMs. I tell you what, if he's doing that while you're dating him, imagine how bad it's gonna be if you get engaged or married to the guy. Yikes, ladies. It is gonna be bad. So if a guy is super controlling, deal breaker. You gotta run. Those are some of the top things where I really believe, and we have it out on handouts that you girls all have to take home. But if you follow those red flags and deal breakers, I really hope and believe it could save you from a lot of potential heartbreak and what could be a future disaster or incredibly toxic relationship in your life. So now that we know what red flags are, now that we know what deal breakers are, now that we know that you are the bride of Christ and Christ is going to constantly come looking for you to find you, what do you need to do? What do you need to do about it? There are 2 core things that you need to do. Number 1, as an individual, as a woman, don't date or get involved with or associate with any man where you just know deep in your gut and your heart, he's not the right guy. He has a lot of the red flags. He's showing deal breakers. Don't even walk don't even walk down that path, ladies. Like what I said, you are all worth so much more. Hold your standards so much higher. The second thing you need to do is you need to hold your friends accountable. I mean, if you don't have a friend now who's in a relationship that's kind of toxic, I guarantee you will in the future. And as girls, we have to look out for each other. Because a lot of times our parents don't see what's going on, teachers might not see what's going on, but our friends might see. And you might be the only one who is going to be able to talk to your friend to let her know, oh man, girl, I don't like how this guy's treating you. You need to leave him. You deserve so much better. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians 5:11. It says, but now I am writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an idolater, a slanderer, a drunkard, or a swindler. Do not even eat with such people. Basically, what this means is that as friends, we shouldn't just sit back and think that everything our friends are doing is just acceptable behavior. You may not be fully responsible for what the other person does, but you are responsible for yourself and you are responsible for your own actions and how you speak up to help your friends. So to wrap things up, we're going to end with 2 questions. Very just truthful questions, okay, that you need to ask yourself. Question number 1, are you currently dating, involved with, talking to, or in bed with disaster? And I think you ladies will know deep in your heart if it is or not. And if you're in that type of a situation, you gotta get out. You gotta get out now before it turns even worse. The second question to ask yourself is, do you need to have an honest but really, really hard conversation with a friend if she's currently in a toxic relationship or if she is just not acting right around guys? You know, I tell you what, girls, a couple years ago, I actually had to have a very difficult, super awkward conversation with a close friend of mine. And the reason why is because she got into this routine and this rut where she would start to like a guy, and her first reaction was, I like him, I want him to like me, so I'm gonna sleep with him. And that's what she did over and over and over and over again. And every time she did that, the guy would get what he wanted and he would leave. And she was getting her heart broken over and over and over again because she was making her own conscious decision to give her body and her mind to all these different guys, just wanting them to like her. And so I found myself in a situation where I was like, okay, I see what's going on, and I'm not sure if anybody else in her life is gonna talk to her about this. So it's gotta be me, and I'm just gonna do it. So I reached out to her, I took her out for lunch, and basically what I told her is I was like, man, girl, you are getting your heart broken all the time because you are making bad decisions. You're making bad decisions. And I really encourage you, instead of chasing after men with your body, trying to get them to like you, you need to chase after God. You have to chase after God first, because if you chase after God and if you put your heart to Him, then when the timing is right, God will then bring you your future husband. That conversation was not easy, and she did not talk to me for 2 months after that conversation. So just know that if you feel in your heart, if you have a friend where you're like, I need to talk to her, it's gonna be hard, difficult. She may not talk to you for a while, but oh my goodness, it is so worth it, girls, because she may not hear from anybody else but you. So we're gonna break out into small groups now. And when we get into small groups, I just encourage you girls, let's get transparent, let's be vulnerable, let's be honest with each other so we can learn from each other and help each other. And then finally to end, if you just feel a tug in your heart, if you're like, man, God, I'm sick of chasing after things that will never fill me, or I'm sick of chasing after things that always leave me broken and hurt, then I really encourage you, make tonight the night that you choose to chase after God, and that you choose to commit your life to Him, because He is the one thing that will completely fill you up more than any man ever could. So we're going to break out into groups now. Okay, let's break out into groups.